Hello, everybody. Today is April 24th. It's about 7:30 Eastern Standard Time here in East Tennessee. I'm just going to do a quick video. If you didn't know it, the Canadian elections are coming up this Monday, and the Australian elections are on Saturday. So I want to jump in, give you a quick preview if you didn't know what's going on, so you don't have to read a long, lengthy article, whatever. I kind of did a lot of research on it, so here we go. All right, so right now, if you don't know, this is the Canadian election. It's controlled by the Liberals. The Liberal Party was Justin Trudeau. He resigned. It's been taken over by Carney. The Conservative Party of Canada's candidate is a guy by the name of Pierre Poilievre. Okay, Conservatives going back months were favored to win heavily. That lead is gone. They are now the underdog. Okay, so this is like the 338 Canada federal project. I think that has to do with like 538 in the United States, but they're left-leaning, of course, but they are projection. And if you don't know, polls in Canada have been kind of accurate. There's another little caveat I want to let you know that in 2021, Liberals actually lost the popular votes. They lost it by 3 points, 34 to 31. There's a third party called the NDP, which is very left and wacky. Okay, they had a high share of the votes. What's happening now is that, and so did the Greens. The NDP and Greens are not getting the kind of vote they were in 21, and the more the Liberals are. Is that because of the surge of the Conservatives above that percent, and people are just being more pragmatic now? Because I think last time they thought the Liberals might win, even if they did vote NDP. They don't want the Conservatives. Okay. So here you have the NDP at 9, Bloc Québécois, that's the nationalist group. They are left-leaning, by the way, but they are all about maybe not in full independence, maybe some of them are, but more autonomy and respecting the rights of French Quebec history and so forth. Okay, so this is the projection, 42% to basically 38%, okay, for the Conservatives. And then the seat projection, okay, you need 172 for a majority. They have it at 186 for the Liberals, getting an outright majority. Okay, now right now, they have a shy because they did lose seats because the Conservative won by 3 points in 2021. But the way, like, Conservatives are concentrated, like, in Alberta and certain areas. And they came close in some of these, they call them ridings in Canada, districts in Ontario, which is by, Ottawa and outside the suburbs of Toronto, but they didn't pull over. But when you added that, nationally they had it. There just weren't enough in key areas to generate the seats that they needed. So keep that in mind. So even if you have a Conservative win by a point or two, Liberals are still probably going to gain more seats. Each seat is done by first past the post. Whatever party gets it. So you could have a situation where the Green candidate, the NDP candidate, and the Liberal candidate all split 65% of the vote, and the Conservative could win a seat with 34% of the vote. Okay, that kind of a thing. So that's in that way they're like the British. All right. All right. The next thing here is I'm sorry, I hit the wrong one. All right, so this is dividing it up by provinces. British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, it's New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, okay? So there you have the core islands. These are the seat projections per province. So those northeastern islands, kind of like New England, right? Heavily liberal, globalist as well. Quebec, Conservatives do very poorly. Liberals outdoing the Québécois. They have 83 seats in Ontario, basically 2.5 at least to 1 majority in Ontario. Manitoba being split. Saskatchewan Conservatives winning all but 1 seat. Alberta all but 5, and losing a few in British Columbia. So that's the projections that this website has for Canada by province. I would like to say that I think my own projection is that the polls were kind of close last time. I think that some of these seats are favored I've read that some projections they have in these, in these big win for the liberals. They have some seats that really don't have business going to conservatives. But I saw a percentage on the betting market where that it was like liberals win outright majority, what percentage, win a simple majority, and then have to form a coalition, and then the conservatives win. The biggest chunk was simple majority, and I think they're going to be around the 170 to 175 seats is where I think it's going to be. The other interesting thing with the Canadian election as well is that a record early voting has been completed, and 7.3 million early voted. That is by far a huge record. I don't know what that means. The other thing that makes me nervous in Canada, the people there are much more trusting people of institutions. They are more globalist oriented and have more faith in their government. They do not have access to independent media and independent media sources the way we do. They just don't have faith in it, and they just rely on the CPC, which is government funded and highly left wing, and in other institutions. The only big outlet I know of that leans right is Rebel News, and they've been given a hard time, particularly under the Trudeau government. So I just don't see that high turnout where it benefited Trump with these people, that same kind of demographic, and knowing what I know about Canadian media and Canada. So I believe the Liberals will hold power. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully the polls are missing something by a few points here, and they win in just the right seats. Pierre's not. He started out good. He went too far away from the Trump thinking, the nationalist thinking. The tariff effect, I believe, had a role in here. But at the end of the day, I think the Liberals will win this election. But I'll be hoping for Pierre. If I lived in Canada, I would be voting for the People's Party. Okay? If I lived in a riding that didn't matter, either it was hard left or hard right, I would vote for the People's Party. If I lived in a swing one and there was a chance of winning, I probably would vote for the Conservatives just because I don't want the Liberals to have power. I could see Pierre having a decent relationship with Trump and the West and sympathetic to some of our decisions, both economically and on the international stage, than the left, Carney. So, moving on. The Australian federal election. All right, so a little quick background. Australia federal election opinion polls. Now you see those low numbers. Now I'm going to explain to you how it works. They have 151 seats. You get 72 seats. You win the House. The next person becomes the Prime Minister. They also have a Senate in the upper chamber that goes every, I think, 6 years. They don't have as much power as the lower house, so it's not as equal as in the United States. Now, the reason why these numbers are low, because I'll show you, is that's first vote. Australia has ranked choice voting. So you vote on a first ballot, who your favorite primary is, then you vote on a second. So what's going to happen is most of these Greens are going to vote for that. Now, it's very interesting. Australia, their names are different. The red, the ALP, that is Labour Party. That is the left wing. The LNP is the Liberal Party. Now, their prime minister candidate is a guy by the name of Dutton. He's a member of the Liberal Party. But the Liberal Party is classical liberalism. They're the actual more conservative party. Now, the N in the NP stands for their coalition. There's another party called the National Party, which is a little more conservative than the Liberal Party. And they run together in conjunction. So it's called the Liberal National Party, or the Liberal National Coalition. You'll have it heard and said. So that's what the LNP. So they are up on all these last three polls that came out on the first ballot. Okay? Now, here's a poll by YouGov that shows basically similar numbers. But when you have the two-tier, look at that, ALP up by 7 points, which makes sense to me because you have all these Greens, they're not going to vote for the LNP coalition. And there's not enough right-wing third parties to do that. You have the Center Party, which I have a small Center Party there that has like one seat in Parliament. Okay? Labor people are going to go in their second round, but conservative. Or maybe they don't. They leave it blank. Okay? Because they just can't vote for another party or they don't trust it. So, again, The conservatives or liberals, well, the LNP, held power for 9 years and lost a couple years ago, and it looks like they're going to lose again. So that's it. I think there's a little Trump effect. I also think Australia went nuts during COVID. I mean, they literally put people in, detained them, and put them in camps. Literally, they did. All these insane rules. They really succumbed to the state. They have more faith. These old British colonies really went nuts, like the wrong way in COVID, and they're really going, it's like they want to go back to their imperial days of the old empire, but instead it's the altar and empire of globalism. And they just don't have that same history of anti-establishment that we do in the United States. Therefore, that faith also leads to them having more of a faith in their media and what they're being told in their government institutions, and they believe it. And that's why you have this, even with these trends in Europe, the United States moving to the populist right, you still have these liberal globalists seizing, going to maintain power. Now, again, I'm hoping, I've seen some modeling that shows like it's so confusing, labor doing well in these traditionally, these traditionally more conservative or LNP areas. Now, if that's consistent with the polling, then and there's a polling miss and they don't perform well, maybe we have a tighter election as well. Okay, but again, it's that second vote, ranked vote that's going to hurt them. If this was a first past the post system, LNP would win. It's amazing. Every one of these countries, in France, in the UK, first past the post helped the left-wing party. In the UK, in France, they did strategic voting where there was a runoff that helped the left. Again, they have the biggest party, okay, just like in France and Australia, but they're not going to squeak it out because of the runoff, or in this case, the ranked choice voting. It's amazing. These globalists always find a way to win. Here, they're moved on to courts. They're any way to hold power. That's all they care about. It doesn't matter if it's Australia, Canada, Holland, United States. It's the same evil scumbags. So, now, polls. This was really interesting. Morrison was the sitting PM before, lost to Albanese, the left guy. Here was the polling error from last election. LNP, the Conservative Liberal National Party coalition. They were undercounted by 1.3, 1.7, 0.7, 0.7, 0.3. That's actually decent, not that far off. But they oversampled, not oversampled, they overrepresented in their poll the left, Labor, by 1.3, 1.4, 3.4, 3.4. So you had a 4 to 6 point swing. Or if there's a 6 point swing error again, or 4 to 6 point swing error again, this race can be tight and LNP could win it. And if they're doing the same mistakes like they do in the United States, the university and corporate polls, in terms of modeling the electorate based upon their polling data, and they get it wrong, maybe they can squeak out. Personally, I would like Australia to go back and be more in line with the United States, moving that populist right and have a relationship with them. Okay? Because if these countries keep going down this road, I don't want to have a relationship with them anymore. There's a reason why our ancestors left this crazy place in Europe. A landed gentry, constant wars, concentrated power, and we went the opposite way here in the United States. If they're going to go back to that via corporations, international institutions, and everything, I don't want to be part of it. There are other countries we have relationships that are more economically beneficial to us and our national security, and Europe can go start taking care of paying for their own security and give up their free health care. And that's my feel. So I predict that Australia, the Labor will hold power. It will still be very close. Maybe they won't get an outright majority, but just simple and have to form a coalition. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'll be tweeting out on the elections on Monday in Canada. Maybe I'll do a live stream. And Saturday I'll be doing in Australia as well. Huge time difference in Australia. So we might be able to do that. Let's see, if the polls at night, they'll be polling in the morning. Maybe we'll do a live stream on that as well. But I'll be following that. So if you... and real quick, I forgot about this. Yes, these are the seats, the current seats. The Liberal Party has 74. Okay. Center right. Labor Party, center left, 25. Greens, 11. Okay, and these are going back. So, yeah, we'll see. But anyway, um, yep. So I'll be keeping an eye on those. So anyway, my Twitter is, or X, I should say, at Patriot Planner One, and my Getter is at Patriot Planner. And if there's any major polling shifts, whatever, I'll be posting on this. But I just wanted to give you some basic little information about it because it's important. You know, if Trump moves right, we get some more countries on board that agree with some of our philosophies in there and willing to do it. I think Dutton in Australia and Poilievre are not going to be on the populist right, but I think they'll be more willing to heed that and have a better relationship. Where I think Carney in Canada and Albanese will be more antagonistic to Trump. But anyway, so we'll see. So if you like the video, please follow, like, and share, and I will see you guys soon.